Okay, so today we are going to talk about integrating technology into your Remind and Zoom. Uh, I just want to make sure everybody knows that in the agenda, I definitely put you want to log in with Clever as often as you can um, to make sure that your accounts are secure. So I'm going to go out here. And I do not have the option inside of Clever to log into Remind that way. So I have to go down to the admin login because I'm not a teacher. So I'm going right into my Remind. And as you can see, it pulled up the people, and I have Rachel Carter in here. I used to have a parent and a student in here because it's from a while ago, but I deleted them today. So they are gone. So when you're in your Remind, this is your front page. I think everybody's pretty familiar with this now. Now, if you add any files, they will be added here. Your people are here. I love how it filters to teacher and students so you can focus on who you want to send information to. And what's funny is I tried to do a call. So I called John LaPlante through my app, and it does block the number. So I don't know if you have not tried that, I have the Remind app on my phone, and I added my phone number, and it actually called him, and he did not know it was me. So it was pretty cool.
Tiffany, Gary
Yeah.
has a question.
Yes.
Specialists don't use Clever, so what do we do?
But you can still go into Clever. All your classes are inside of Clever. You should be able to get into Clever because everybody has it. You just may not use it. With the app should be in there. You can also go to the have you been going through the admin login?
I have Clever, or I have Remind on my phone that works, so I
Okay,
can.
right. Well, you wouldn't go through Remind that way. You would, or Clever that way. You would only go through Clever if you're using your device, your computer, your laptop. Sorry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I want to send, documents or things through Remind, I've never logged on to Remind on a computer, just on my phone.
Okay, well, I'm going to kind of show you. This is what it would look like if you would log in, but I'm almost positive that you have Clever and you can log in. Jane, have you ever gone in through Clever, Haggerty?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
I can stay on after and have you help me log onto my Clever, but I don't want to stop where we are now, so we'll keep going.
Okay, we'll connect later. So this is what it looks like on your computer. You can do your messages in two places. So you can go down here, and this will automatically defaults to the class that you're in. You can also edit it, and I could send it to other places if I want. So I do have students that were in here from a long time ago. So if I wanted to select certain students and just send those people a message, you can just select certain people to send them a message. I'm going to remove them since that was a long time ago. So I just want to send it to the class. It automatically the first time defaults to welcome to Youngstown Technology. I really like this. What I also like is over here, it automatically connects to whatever you use to add documents, information into your Remind. So I can actually connect my Google Drive that has all my documents in there. And I know that a lot of people saved their work that they put on the progress book homework area. You can connect the documents right in here also for your parents. So if your parents are using Remind, send them right through Remind. So let's see. So this is technology integration. Nope, I'm sorry. I'm going to do, here's today's. I click on it. It actually pops right over here, the document that I have here. And I'm just going to hit send. So this document that we're looking at right now, I'm actually sending it. My only person in there is Rachel. And then my information shows up right over here. So right now it says 0 people have read this. So I know that Rachel has not read this since we've been on the computer. If anybody has looked at their apps, looked at their messages, looked at it, it will actually tell you how many people have read this. So you have an idea, so you know. So that way it gives you an idea how many people are looking at what you are sending. So if you know that they've at least looked at it and they know it's there, it makes me feel a little better. They don't even have to respond to me. I just know that they have read it.
Tiff, I just checked it. Also, we have a couple questions.
Okay.
I shared a document this morning. Ashley says, how do I make it so they can't edit it? If I select view only, do I have to do that before I upload it?
Yes. Yeah, you have to select view only before you upload it. So when I'm in my document, and I'm in my share button, all I do is I click on get shareable link. It actually defaults to anyone at Access can view. So you just need to make sure if you're sharing with parents, you're having anyone with the link can view, because that's going to be a problem because it defaults to anyone at Access. So your parents aren't in Access. Now, if a student's opening it, you're fine with their email. So what's the other question?
Amanda wants to know, does it attach more than one document?
I believe it does, but we're just going to put it into practice. Oops, I got to move this. Now you can see I was on with Mrs. Carter, and when I was writing the message, I needed to know that I have Mrs. Carter grayed out, and that's who I would be sending a message to. If I wanted to go to the whole class, then I click on the name of the whole class, and then I can send it out. So I'm just going to say hello. I can also upload a file on my computer. The problem with a file on your computer, if it's not a PDF, is if it's a Word document and they do not have Word, they will not be able to open it. So you have to make sure that you're sending a document that will be able to open in all platforms. So a PDF or an image, 99% of the times, most devices will open that. So I'm going to go back into my Google Doc. I'm going to attach again. And you can see that it looks like I can add as many as I want. See my Google Docs up here, my picture is here. This is how most parents, they're doing this upload a photo or video where they can send the picture of the work that they've done from the student to you. So this is exactly how they would do it for you too. If they're on a phone, the options show up below this box, not to the right. So you just need to be aware of that. And then there's my new, that picture is gigantic. The other thing that you may want to do on here is you may want to add a YouTube video. I'm going to tell you right now, we are probably, I shouldn't say that because I don't know. We're probably going to open YouTube if these devices start going out at home. So that way you guys aren't going to have to worry about if they need to be opened or not. Most of the YouTube videos will be open at home. They will be filtered for any profanity or anything like that. But other than that, they're probably going to be open. So Ashley, I would probably go into your Google Doc and go into your share button and change it there. And then reshare it on your Remind, because you can't change a link once it's shared out there. You have to reshare it with a new link because the URL will actually change. Does that make sense? Okay.
She said yes, thank you.
Okay. Video, sorry, video. So I'm just going to go ahead into YouTube. And I'm definitely going to suggest, if you guys did not do the webinar on Edpuzzle, this would be a fantastic time if you have kids that you're going to want to watch videos to add those questions actually directly in the video, that would be a great way to send them through Remind. So I'm just going to go into my library, Zoom meeting, phone. They can call in telephone or you. I'm just going to take that. I'm copying the URL that's at the top, and I'm just doing Control C. Control C, I'm telling you, is my friend, because not every program likes you to do right click copy, right click paste. So I am very particular about Control C, and if you're on a Mac, it's Command. So I'm going to choose my class that I want. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to Control V. I'm going to paste my video in here. I would definitely want to put some directions up here at the top. And then I'm going to send that to her. And I may have a document down here also that you may want them to complete once they watch the video. Also, if you guys have not heard this, I'm gonna repeat this again. Over here under your name, you have this account settings. You have archived classes. Please don't leave all like 7 classes you have out there for your parents. They are going to get very confused, especially if they have more than one student. They aren't going to be sure how to communicate with you. And I'm talking for the lower grade teachers, because you have the same kids all day. So if I have this class and I have these same kids in both classes, I'm going to archive the first class. So when the parent logs in, they're only communicating with you through one class and they're not confused. So if I have Johnny, Jane, and Jean, and Johnny is in first grade and has math, ELA, English, social studies, science, intervention, and then they each have 5 classes, you're talking there is a large amount of classes for them to look at and they may get confused. So you may just want to narrow that down to one class so it's less confusing for your parents. So do we have any other questions about Remind? Any other things that you guys would like to do with Remind? But there are directions out here. We put them in here. Amanda Whitmore actually created this for the people in her building because they were asking a lot. So she actually made a step-by-step for you guys on how, and you can share this with your parents so they can upload a picture to Remind to show you what the students are doing if you want to do it that way.
Cheryl would like to know, what is the translate option in the message area?
So message area. And then I'm going to choose a class. Hello. Translate. I'm going to translate it to Spanish. And it goes to hola. Now, just remember that when you do use this, it will, so you can actually choose this, maybe the parents that you know don't speak English. So I'm just going to choose this parent. So I would send it to just that parent instead of the whole class. And now just this parent would get the information translated. So I would probably send it out once. I would copy it, paste it in here. I would translate it and send it out again. But just remember, it's doing it probably a proper Spanish and not dialect Spanish. So this isn't necessarily Puerto Rican or, Mexican lingo. It would be your Spanish.
Gary would like to know, can you go above the class limits when sending messages? I have more than it can handle.
I don't understand what you mean when you say class limit. So are you trying when you
Remind?
Yeah.
On Remind, I have band, orchestra, general music, and then I have K through 4 classes, and they list all separately. All the first graders separate, all the second graders separate. When I tried to select all to send a message, it won't let me because there's too many classes, too many kids, too many people. And I understand how to send like a video and a link and a document, but I don't want to have to do it 20 times.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, and I don't know if it's because I'm an administrator, but when I try to, and you're talking, so like Ray and Early College has 637, I have 1,300. When I want to send out a message, I don't have a limit. So if you're having an issue, I would email John LaPlante. He might be able to open that up for you, so you can email
Okay.
more than that.
Because when I select, multiple classes, it says I can't go above like 5 classes. So,
Interesting.
thank you.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. I would definitely reach out to him and find out more about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gina says she renamed her class, but she does not know how to delete the other classes that she doesn't need.
So you actually don't delete the classes. If you go over under your name and then you go to account settings, you're going to go to archived classes. And then it will give you a list of your current classes. And you click on the 3 dots and you just hit archive class and it will just move it to the top. So if I decide that I do need this class, I can click on it again and I can unarchive it and restore it. So they never go away. You're just kind of hiding them. So if I click archive class and it says remove, I'm actually, yes, removing it from my current classes, but it will always show up in my archived classes. So
Tony,
that's all under your name in account settings.
Tony says, how do I send lessons via Google Classroom to students? I have it in one class, but they have different assignments. My special education students have different lessons assigned on Google Classroom.
So real quick, I'll go into that with you. So I'm going to go down into my Google Classroom. And are you talking about your assignments in Google Classroom are already sent out to individuals, but you want to put them on Remind individually? Or you just,
yeah, I have them in my Google Classroom, and I hid students, and then I made a lesson for my special education kids and hid my general ed kids. But when I put them on Remind, how does it automatically just show what they're having in their Google Classroom? I don't have to separate them?
no, you don't have to separate them. They're only going to see. So if you tell them to go into their Google Classroom and do the assignment that's assigned to them, they're only going to see their assignment.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, and when you assign, you can go over to students. Are you just checking the ones that you want?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Perfect. Yep.
All right, cool,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. You don't have to do anything. That's all they can see.
That's really cool, because I sent them individual ones this morning, and it took 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's worth it in the end. It's definitely
Yeah.
going to be worth it because you can reuse those next year too.
No, I mean, I sent them individual ones on Remind from Google Classroom because I took pictures and sent them to them because I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know
Yeah.
I could connect Google Classroom to Remind.
Well, it's not connected to Remind, but if you send an announcement that said, please go into Google Classroom and click on the link, they're only going to see what you tell them to see with the Google Classroom link. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
So can they, when they go on Remind, they can't click on Google Classroom?
I would put the link for Google Classroom. I don't know if that's an option. So I would go into like classroom.google.com or take a link from your class because they're already a member. And that's how I would send it out. So I would say, I'm going to go down to my class. Sorry. Youngstown. So I would say, click on Google Classroom and complete your assignment. Jeez, oh man. And then I would just put a link to the classroom. See, and there it is right there. That they
Okay,
can sign in. And then they're all getting the same thing. You can send it to every single kid because you're not singling anybody out and telling them what their assignment is. Does that make sense? But once they
Yeah.
go in, they can only see what you're giving them.
okay, that works, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jane had a question. Do parents and students see the translate option too if they're sending messages?
That's a good question. Rachel, can you see that on your end? I'm gonna have her check right now.
I will check. And then also Brian had a question. He said I have one reply in one of my Remind classes that I cannot get the notice to disappear. It has been there for close to 4 weeks now.
Reply. So you're in one of your classes and like where it says Mrs. Carter here, when you click on it, it doesn't go away. Is that your question?
Yes, I'm sorry, I had to remember how to unmute my mic. Yeah, it's my physical science class. It's period 7. I see a reminder that says one message. I go to look for it. I can't find it anywhere.
Real quick, is it on your phone or is it, oh, you know what? Maybe it's in one of those archived classes. Because if you didn't archive them in time, somebody might be responding to you on there. So check your archived classes to see if somebody was using that class first. Does that make sense? Maybe
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if you have an intervention and you archived anything. Did you archive anything?
I archived it, but I didn't archive them before then. It shows up. It's attached to the physical science period 7. It says a little 1, and it's in red, and then it says all classes 1. So I'm pretty much sure it's located there. I go to that class. I've clicked on every message that I possibly can, and I can't get it to disappear. I've answered every message that's ever been sent to me, but there's something that's kind of hidden. Like could a student or parent sent me a message then left or disconnected? And I don't know.
They could have, but usually when you do that, it all stays in there, even if they disconnect from your class. So I'm going to give you an example. So my class that I had in here for track, this is actually from like 2013. Any messages that I sent out back and forth between the student and I actually have stayed in here. They haven't gone anywhere because it's like a record. So these are this is the information I've sent out. Nobody responded to me, but they don't go anywhere. I mean, even the people that are in there when they've left, I don't know, maybe because when I deleted the people on here in my technology class, they're gone now. But there was responses, but they didn't show up. So I'll have to check it out. I'll look at your account later and we'll talk.
All right, thanks.
Jane, I will make sure I go in. Oh, you already took care of it. Okay.
Yeah, Jane, they can, because as you can see on the screen, I typed in hello, my friend, and then I translated it into Arabic.
Oh, sweet.
On the phone, they just type in whatever language and then they click the globe and they can translate it into anything.
Perfect. I wonder if I can translate that back. You as a teacher will not be able to though, because I don't know what that says.
If I knew Arabic, I could type in it and then translate it into English, but
right.
I don't.
Right. So yeah, just be aware if they're translating, make sure they're translating to the correct language, I guess. So it looks like they can. I had not tried that, so very interesting. Are there any other questions about Remind? We just did the posting docs, photos, and post a video.
Gina says, thank you so much. My Remind looks so much easier to find all my classes and not getting confused.
I know. It was a lot in the beginning, and when Mr. LaPlante uploaded all those all your classes, they automatically come over. I was like, oh, parents are gonna be like, and teachers are gonna go crazy. So I'm glad we were able to do that. I was able to help you out. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna talk about is Zoom, and you guys will all go through Clever to get to Zoom, but of course I can't do that. So I have to go into Zoom because I don't have any classes. Make sure you're logging in with your Google. Since we have started this, Zoom is now changed. So I'm just going to let you know, there have been things that have changed. They've been doing updates, all kinds of things. If you are hosting a meeting or scheduling a meeting, there are a few things that are required now. You cannot turn off password. So make sure anybody that is coming into your meeting knows that they are required to put in a password. Every single one of my sessions, my password I've changed to YCSD, so you guys won't have a hard time logging in. You're going to want to make it something easy for your students, like Taft, like your last name, something that you think that they would be able to remember in order to get into your meeting. So I'm just going to name this technology department. And you're going to want to make sure you set up a time. And I'm going to set it up for today at 1 o'clock. And this is not a reoccurring meeting. If you plan on doing this with your students once a week, once whatever, you can choose how often you want this to happen, so that every week on Monday at, at 1 o'clock, you guys will be having a meeting. You can do that, and you can have an end date. So if I say, and we'll end it the last week of school on the 18th, it will actually stop doing a meeting every day. The password will always be the same. The link will always be the same, and your students can get on every time into the meeting. Now, if you're not reoccurring and you're going to change it all the time, then you don't need to turn that on. But it is nice to have if you plan on doing something weekly at the same time, and you don't have to keep sending out a new link every time you want to meet with your students. I always turn on the host options. It just gives you a little more options that you can use when you're doing your meeting. Always allow telephone and audio, and then automatically defaulted at the bottom are mute participants upon entry and enable the waiting room. So those are the two that are on. Now, when I'm gonna let you know, when I had on enable to join before host, this will actually allow somebody else to be the host of your meeting and they can take over. So please make sure you don't turn that on, because that will be an issue for you. And they control the screen sharing. They control all kinds of things that you will not have any control over if you enable that to join before host, okay? I don't use these other ones at the bottom. You can actually have it to start record automatically as soon as you turn it on if you're meeting with students. That way there's no question about what happened. If you don't want to, I do not turn that on anymore, because there's a lot of stuff that's in there that I really don't want. I don't want people to hear before we actually start the meeting. So then I just hit save when I'm done.
Tiffany, several people are saying they did not have to put in a password to join this meeting today.
You didn't have to?
I know I did not have to either.
Interesting.
I did not. It just automatically let me in.
I wonder why it says require meeting password. Okay, then. I'm glad that nobody had to, but it says that it's going to be required. So maybe it's only required of people outside of our did anybody not log in with their email today? I'm just curious. Because it says in there that you need a password, but maybe you don't. I didn't have to do that before. When I first started setting these up, that was not an option. But now apparently somebody turned that on. So just so you know, that's out there. This right here is your personal meeting ID. If you just want to share this, you can always use the same one that belongs to you to have a meeting, like on the fly. So that's another option. Do we have any questions? Because my little thing is lighting up.
No, just several people were saying that they didn't have to use a password to log in.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm glad that you didn't have to, because that would just be a headache. So once you start your meetings, if you don't want to have to look at everybody's face, you're going to want to put something behind here. Also, when I go to share my screen, I don't know, can you guys see that? I don't think you can. I think only I can see it right now. You have some choices. When you click on the bottom where it says share screen, you can share your desktop. I can actually switch to a whiteboard. If I hit share right now, you can see I have a whiteboard, and I can actually start writing on here. I can spotlight something. You have like a little spotlight tool that will show them. You have some shapes on here. that you could actually start to talk to your students if they were asking about area or perimeter. You also have text at the top where you could type in, where you could say 4 centimeters. And this is all fine and dandy. The problem is when you leave here, well, you could actually save it, but it doesn't save as a recording. It just saves as a screenshot. So I just want you to be aware when you do all this, it's not gonna, it will record if you're recording the session, but it will not record any place else as to what you're doing, if that makes sense. Now, I also have the option, because I have a Mac, that I can add my iPad or my iPhone. You will not have that if you do not have a Mac. So I just want you to be aware of that. Okay. So that's pretty much how you stop a meeting. Also down at the bottom, if you guys, and I don't know if you can see this, Rachel or Andre, you're gonna have to tell me, you should be able to see mute, start video, and the share down at the bottom. And then you have a little, can you see that, Rachel?
No.
You don't have the mute or the video for yourself?
Oh, yes, I do on mine. Yes, I'm sorry.
Where's it at? Is it at the top or the bottom?
It's at the very bottom.
So at the bottom where you guys see mute and start video, you have a little caret or a little down arrow next to that. And then you can choose a virtual background that's of something that you can put behind you. So when you're with your students, they can't see your actual house. They're going to see the background that you've selected instead of whatever it is that's behind you. So that's just an option that's in there. Also,
Tiff, let me add that that's a hidden toolbar. Like you have to move your mouse to go down to the bottom of the screen for it to pop up. It doesn't automatically show.
Okay, so it's so close to the bottom you might have to scroll down.
Hover over it.
Okay.
And Cheryl, we're not able to see what she's doing, so you're gonna have to move your own mouse and like move it down towards the bottom left, and then you should be able to see the mute and start video.
Also, you have just so you know, a video settings. And just for those people that, for a fun time, you can actually touch up your appearance inside of there as one of the video settings. So if that's an option for you, which I turned it on, but I can't honestly tell you that there is a difference. Maybe there is, but just so you know, that's an option inside there.
Tony wants to know, do you have to do that every time?
No, it actually holds the setting, whatever I decide. So if I go in, even if I choose a virtual background, the next time I get on, the same virtual background pops up as soon as I log in. So you don't have to change that. My touch up my appearance is on every time. So whatever you select will actually stay on every time you log in to the computer. Now, I do need to tell you that the only problem is with the virtual background is if you are very fair and you choose some backgrounds, you may disappear in your background. I am very fair, so there are certain backgrounds that if I select, you can't see my hands or my face sometimes disappear, and I believe Rachel had the same problem. So just be aware of that because it is like a virtual reality world. You may get lost in it. Are there
And it's not as fun as it sounds.
No, it's really not as fun as it sounds. Okay. So what I wanted to get into is what kind of tools can you use while you are doing your meetings? So I actually suggested this ClassFlow, which is amazing. It actually works with our Promethean boards. So if you guys go to classflow.com, you can create an account if you don't have one. So if you hit log in and you don't have an account, it will ask you how you want to log in. So I'm going to log in as a teacher. If you don't have an account, it will create one for you. I'm going to sign in with Google at the bottom. And what I really like about this platform is that you can have your students log in to ClassFlow wherever they are, and they will see your screen on their screen. So they will be looking at the class flow just like you are. Oh, what's happening? Come on. There it is. So if I wanted to just do a whiteboard on the fly, and I wanted my students on it at the same time, you're gonna see up here on the top right, it's gonna say connect your students right here. They would go to this website. So you would send this in Remind and they would log in and they can actually be on their computer at the same time while you are teaching with them. I got this open at the bottom. So if I wanted a pencil, I would just start writing. I would do a math problem, 24 plus 6. You can see I'm not writing very well with my mouse. I can actually send this to every student that's logged in and they could answer the question. So they would see that on their screen and they would start to answer the question. You could actually give them the ability with these 3 keys to how are they going to answer it? Are they going to answer it creatively? Are they going to text you the answer? Is it going to be multiple choice or is it true or false? So if I said 24 plus 6 is 7, I could send this to my students. They're going to see this as a true or false, and they would give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So this is actually interactive teaching right while you're doing your Zoom meeting, and you can see your students' answers show up as you do this. When I'm done, I would hit stop. So actually, why don't I, if anybody would like to join my class flow right now, you can actually hop on if you want to put this in here, or you could, like I said, copy this. And then I'm going to go to the chat and I'm going to, there it is. Mom. Oh, well, let me paste it in there. So I put the link in there. So you can see student Gary Harper is already in here, and I can see the students as they come in, and he can see my screen, and we're actually having a discussion at the same time, and he's in my class. So I'm going to close this, and I can see he's on here. And when he goes in, I'm going to go back to my, sorry, I have a couple things open. I've got to close these. Here's my screen where I was. And here's what I was doing. Here's whatever I was talking about. You actually have tools in here too, where you could actually use a ruler and you could put the ruler and you can have them measure a line or draw a line.
All I see is pictures. I don't see your.
Yep, I haven't shared it with you yet, so I'm going to show you real quick. So I'm going to add some squares. And then this right here, this little arrow is how I'm going to send to Gary. So Gary, did your screen change now?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody that's on here should see this screen right now. And you can also do this for individual students. So if I wanted to go to another screen, okay, and I'm gonna add a slide, just gonna add one. And I wanted Gail to just have a very particular question, I can send just this card to Gail and her screen would be the only one that changes. So if you had a student that you only wanted to see particular things, now, like I said, so now I'm just gonna send this out to you guys, and I'm gonna send this out to you as creative, so that way you're gonna see some tools at the bottom of your screen where you can text or draw or write, and you can put an answer in. So 24 plus 6, just give me an answer to that if you want to. And then there should be a submit button on the bottom right. But this is actually real time, sharing your screen, having discussion, and getting feedback automatically. So as you see on my screen, the answers start to show up. No names are on here because over here on the right, my show names button is off. If I want to turn that on, I can see that Gary and Amanda have actually done the work. So if I say, oh, look, there's a 30 and here's a 30. So I'm going to connect Rachel and Amanda. I can actually take these two, come on, boop, and start to connect them and see who has the right answer and who doesn't. And then you can have answers in real time about what is happening automatically while you're sitting there at home. This is a very, very cool tool to use. But like I said, you don't even have to show anybody's name. You could just say, how did you get this work? How did you find this? If I want to show the names, I can turn it on. This always saves. So if I stop this right now, it will actually save this data and you can come back to it later and you can look at what your students did and what information that they put in as answers. So that is an option for you for later. You can set these up beforehand. This doesn't have to be on the fly. This just happens to be a session that I thought you would do on the fly if somebody started asking you questions and they didn't know what they were doing. And this is how you could start to just share your screen. And start to get results. But like I said, right over here, there's all kinds of questions or ways to get answers. So even if I just wanted like a scale poll, 1 to 10, you know, how are you feeling? You know, confidence, do you agree? There's an agreement. You just click on it, you hit start poll. All the people just say whether they agree or they don't agree with you. So again, you don't have to necessarily have them have data. It starts to give you a graph on if people agree with what you're putting up there or not. They don't have to talk to you. You can see that data in real time. This is a fantastic platform. And if you're using a panel, it's even more amazing. Even if you have a board, you're gonna see when you go into Active View at the top right, you're gonna see ClassFlow and it will connect to this application automatically when you're in the classroom. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stop this. But this was just something I wanted to show you guys on the fly that you can do with no hesitation. If I go to these 3 lines over here, I can exit this and I can save all of my results and I can have those for later and you could post them somewhere. Now, same thing with a poll or anything else. If I just wanted to do a quick poll, I could go in right now in this classroom and I could just say, give me an answer on something that you were doing maybe in your workbook. Draw a picture from page 10. So now I can just do a poll. I don't necessarily have to have a whiteboard. If I wanted to add a whiteboard, I would go to the bottom and this is where you would add down here. But right now there's just a poll in there. Is there some questions?
Nicole says this is so cool. And then Gary asks, does it have a live video for the students? Can they share their screen?
No, but since you are already on a Zoom call, they can do that through Zoom. They can share their screen. And you have to figure, if you're giving them this creative, they're already sharing their screen with you in this platform. Like I can see that Rachel has already done an answer and put it in. So I can actually see their screens when they hit submit on what they're doing. Oh, Brian, I really like that. Studying the sun. Now they can also add pictures, colors. They can go out. You can do this on with different things. They can add a website in here. So you're just not limited to the drawing or typing tools. You can also have them put a picture in, have them put a website in, have them do some work for you. There are many, many choices for you to see a live screen while you're working with them without having them actually share their screen in Zoom. And this is one of them. So I stopped that poll. So I am gonna exit. So ClassFlow is one of my favorite programs. I will tell you that if you wanted to do something, they have a marketplace. So I'm going to say if I'm doing something on the solar system, I can actually go out and choose my grade level, so 7th grade, solar system, they already have lessons already out here that you can pull from. Now you're going to have to take a look at them because you can see they all say free, most of them. There is one that's $14. This is coming from a company, but 99% of the time these are created by other teachers. You can actually go in, take a look at every card that's in here. What does this look like? Okay, they're going to drag the words around. You can add it to your resources the day that you're doing this. And even if you find this on the fly, you can hit deliver. I can send it out to that class on the fly right out there while I'm doing a Zoom meeting and have your students take a look at, well, this is what I was talking about. Look how big the sun is. And you can go through this. I want everybody to manipulate the words, and you would send this out as a creative poll. And if I send it out as a creative poll, they would move those words around and send them back to you. So I just want you to be aware that these are options out there that you can do on the fly if you're looking for something. I wouldn't necessarily do one of these on the fly. I would look at them beforehand, but this site has a lot of free resources for you to use that you can do interactively in real time with your students on a Zoom call and teach at the same time. Do we have any questions?
Tony said, did I get in correctly? I think she meant for your class. And then Gary said, do you have to do ClassFlow in conjunction with Zoom, or can it be used independently?
You can actually send this Zoom or this ClassFlow out, and they can work through it. That looks differently. But again, if you're doing teacher, trying to teach, you may want to do this at the same time. That was the reason that I presented it in this format, is that it gives a real teaching experience in real time with whoever you're working with. That would be my goal. And there are tons and tons of topics out there from ClassFlow. So Google Classroom. I'm going to suggest right now that you use this for your own sanity, probably. So this would be your organization tool where you guys could go in, and when you're on your Zoom call, you can actually go into Unit 1 and you can actually have discussion about the documentation you gave them, what they were doing. The one thing that I really like about this is if you're teaching and you're in Google Classroom at the same time, and I want to go in and I want to view the work, I can actually go in and click on whoever's name it is, and I can see whatever they did in real time. So like I can go into Jen's name, and if her and I are on at the same time, I can see what she did and what she wrote in here as she's doing it, if she's on the same time you are. So this is the same thing. If you guys are on a Google Doc in real time, you can actually watch them work as you're talking to them on a Zoom meeting. Now, even if you're giving out paperwork, like this is from a packet that you gave them, or this is from something that's a hard copy, I would still put your assignments in here so they would all be in order. They don't actually have to turn something into you digitally for it to count in Google Classroom. They could do the work with you on the computer. You could talk to them through it, and then you could just click done at the end. But at the end, when you go and look, all of the assignments that your students have will be in a row, and you'll know what they did on April 10th, on April 9th, on April 24th, on April 21st. So if your kids would rather do this and it's connected to all the directions and all your Google Docs and all your stuff that you did at the same time, I would keep organized through your Google Classroom. Progress Book is just a place where you are putting the grades. This would be all the directions, all the links, everything that goes together, a video that was in there, and then you can go into grades, and if you tell your parent, hey, I'm just gonna send you the link to this, it's automatically there. So they need to do introduction to Unit 1. Are you interested in college credit? Click on that, they need to take the poll. So this would just help you keep your sanity and stay organized. Remember, anything you have them turn in here is automatically compatible now with Progress Book. So if you are giving grades in Google Classroom, you can just automatically upload them up into your progress book. So you're not writing them twice. You're not giving grades twice. You're just importing them. Do we have any other questions?
We have a couple questions about the class flow. Tim asked, do you send it out with Remind if you don't use Zoom?
They can click through them, but they're not going to get that interaction. You can't do a live poll. You can't do a poll for your students without being live. Does that make sense? You can't send all that information out without being live.
Okay, and then Brian says, how did you find the sources again? I think he's talking about the marketplace.
Oh, the marketplace. So if you're on the tab that says home, or you can go to the marketplace tab, either way, you can just put your lesson in. You can also do it over here. You can see you can change it by grade level. You can look by subject. Or if you're on the home screen, you're just going to type right in the middle of your screen what you're looking for. And it will filter down for you. And you can also create lessons. So if there's things that you want in there, you can just go ahead and create and make it on your own. So when I go into my, there's my classes, you can actually add your students in here and make a class. So when they log in, this is where they'll see their lesson and it stores their data. But I did mine. You'll see the instant whiteboard. When I did it, it says open class. That is not going to usually collect their name or anything like that. Some kids will probably change their name and you're not going to know who it was connected to. So I always like to create a classroom up here and add my students in there. So that way I know who's connected to the class and whose data I'm getting, and they can't just add as whatever name they feel like they wanted to join.
Brian says thanks. And then Gina has a question about Google Classroom.
Sure.
How do we import the Google Classroom grades into Progress?
So I can send you a short video on that. It's very short. John LaPlante actually has them out there. I don't know if anybody knows this, but out on our website, under departments and information technology, you're actually going to see one of the tabs says technology training documents. We've actually organized for you in a Google Drive, a Google folder, all of these programs that you have, and they're all trainings on how to use them. So if I go into Progress Book and I want to see anything in here, if I want to know how to set up my grade book, add classes, give interns, anything like that, they're not only are they in a Google Doc, he's also created videos for you guys to use. So I will go in and make sure that there's one in there for uploading into Progress Book from Google Classroom. And I will also send a link out inside of, I will put a link right on here for you guys when we're done. So where was I at? Nope, where'd it go? Here we go. So also, like, everybody always wants to know, like, hey, I need my voicemail changed. All the directions are in here for you guys. So anytime you're looking for directions for anything that's maybe technology related, you just want to come into this folder to find it. So we did like Panorama, for anybody that has Panorama, finding all of your information, where they have it hidden, flashcards, how to find resources, the mini lessons. Where do you find them in Panorama? We made handouts for all of that. Any Clever questions that you could have. How to download the codes for Clever. So this definitely would be a go-to place for any technology that you guys have questions about.
Gina says, sweet, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll make sure I put the video. I know there's a video on that. I'll just have to remember where it's at. Okay, so another resource that you can use, and I know this is Rachel, so I don't know if she's going to want to talk about this at all a little bit because she's really our slides queen, is that while you're on with students and maybe you're trying to talk to them and you just want to, you know, how are you feeling today? What's going on with you? You can actually share just a blank lesson if you want to do it on the fly. You just got to give it a name. So I'm just going to put in today's date. I think today's April 20th. And then I have to do the shareable link. So I'm going to get this shareable link. If I want parents to have it, I have to remember anybody that has the link is going to need to be able to access it. And then I'm going to copy it. I would go down into the chat box and I would paste the document there for anybody that's on the Zoom meeting with you. So now anybody that's on the Zoom meeting can access this slide deck and they can view it. If you want them to add something, so if you have a bunch of students on there and you want them to add their own information, you just have to make sure that they can edit it. Just remember, they're going to edit anybody else's items in here also. So if you give them editing rights, they will be able to edit any slide that anybody happens to add in here. They have access to all of it. I have the add-on for Pear Deck. So if you don't have it, you're going to want to go out and say get add-ons, and then Pear Deck is going to be an option, or you can search for it and it will install it. And there's a video out there already that Rachel has if you want to go back to the webinar and look. If I open up my Pear Deck, you can see at the bottom of my screen, I don't know if you can see it said working. I can on the fly just ask them a question. I can ask them a text question, a draggable question, any kind of question that I want. If I click, if I remember right, I can go into the templates and you can do it beginning of the lesson, end of the lesson, during the lesson, social emotional questions, you know, let's check your stress level. If I click on that, it should add in. This is taking a few minutes. And you can actually poll your students on the fly, watch exactly. Oh, geez, really? Of course, I'm going to get an error today. And it will drop in here and you can share it with your students and you can collect that data live and have a conversation. There it is. So while they're on here, Rachel, walk me through this. Where's she at?
I'm right here. Sorry
Okay.
about
So if we want to make this live, if I want you to answer this question.
that. So your Pear Deck should be open. You should click Pear Deck.
Oh, it was open. I closed it.
Okay. And then start lesson.
Ha.
And then you have the choice to do it as student paced or instructor paced, which on the live would be instructor paced.
Right. It actually, that's why I was having problems. It kicked me out. So again, this would be live learning. They would go in through the join, you'd hit continue, and now you can collect their data live and talk about it. Those are some of the things that you can do interactively and collaboratively while you're actually having a Zoom conversation. That's why I like that. Now I'm going to go down because there's nobody responding because I didn't give you any time. I'm going to do the end button at the bottom, and then it will collect the data. So that's just another tool that you guys can use on the fly while you're doing your Zoom meetings.
And if you don't want to, I'm sorry, if you don't want to do it on the fly, I mean, you could present some of the information and then have the Pear Deck questions interspersed with your presentation. You could do the I forget what it was even called, but instead of the instructor paced, you could choose student paced, have it as an assignment, have them work on it. You'll get there as long as you leave it open instead of closing the session. Student paced activity. You can see that it's going to load. They can do it on their own. You'll get their data, and then the next time you guys meet on a Zoom call, you can discuss their data. So you see it on the bottom right, it says end. You're not going to do that. Instead, you're going to hit the 3 dots, and it says leave session. As long as you click leave session, it will leave that session open for them. They'll be able to answer the questions. You'll be able to pull up examples that you want, maybe some that are correct and some that are not, and discuss them at your next Zoom meeting.
That's a great idea. That's a flipped classroom right there. The last technology integration piece I have on here is Khan Academy. That if you are doing math or science, you want to make sure that you're going in with Clever, and the students will go in with Clever. I believe I do have this one on here. I don't. See, these are the only icons that I have. You want them to go in this way. You want to make sure that you set up your Khan Academy lesson with your students, and then they can go in. And again, that would be something you could do. You could go back, you could talk about the data that they've given you. And that way it gives you something to talk about before you have your meeting. Now you know what it looks like for me. That's why I try to steal come into your class and see what you can see, because it's hard as an administrator to know what a teacher's actually going through in the classroom. So does anybody have any questions about programs you can use on the fly? Because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we ran out of time for Khan Academy, so we might do a separate session on that. But these are actually, like I said, platforms you can use on the fly while you're doing a Zoom session, or you can send them out in your Remind beforehand and talk about it later with your students. At the bottom, the survey is on here. So I'm going to take the link and I'm going to put it in the comment section. And I know we ran out of time, and I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize we were going to have as many questions as we did. But I will make sure that we go back and we cover Khan Academy at another time. Are there any other questions that I can help you with?
Brenda says thank you.